Hello friends, so these are the questions which were asked in previous year AIMS question paper. So first, correct the correct pairing regarding the lymph node and their anatomical boundaries. So they have given the so this is the question given correct pairing regarding the lymph node and their anatomical relationship. So for this you will have to know the lymph node groups and their anatomical relationship to understand. Okay, so we have different lymph node groups. First, this is the neck, okay, and this is the mandible. Okay, in the neck we have first this is the hyoid bone. So from the hyoid bone to the mandible, first we have 1A, that is submental lymph node. Then we have 1B here, which is I will write in other colors. Okay, so this is the neck. So here we have this one, which is 1A, which is submental lymph node, from the mandible to the hyoid bone. So here we have hyoid bone. Okay, from the margin of mandible to hyoid bone there will be 1A, which is submental lymph node. Then we have here on the side, this is 1B, which is submandibular lymph node. Okay, then we have 2A. So here from the angle of mandible, here we can divide this into, here you will have one more, which is 2A. 2A, sorry, 2A and 2B. This is 2 is completely, 2 is upper jugular. Okay, then we have 3. Here just along the jugular vein you can divide it into 3 compartments, that is 2, 3, which is 3 is middle jugular, and we have 4 also, the lowest one, this is lower jugular. 4 is lower jugular, and we have 5. In the 5 is posterior to it, so it is posterior triangular lymph nodes, and we have 6, which is mediastinal, which is present in the mediastinum. Okay, so we will see the options here. So first, that is level 3. Where is level 3? First we will name it. Okay, level 3 is middle jugular. Okay, level 3 is middle jugular, level 4 is lower jugular, level 5 is posterior triangular, level 6 is mediastinal. Right, so this level 6 is from hyoid bone to the suprasternal notch, it is true. Whereas base of the skull to cricoid, no, this is not true. Cricoid will be anterior, and this is not true because it is in the posterior triangle, right? And hyoid bone to cricoid is lower jugular. Actually lower jugular will be below the hyoid bone and even below the cricoid cartilage. Actually if you see, this hyoid bone to cricoid cartilage is hyoid bone to cricoid cartilage is level 3. Okay, hyoid bone to cricoid cartilage is level 3, and clavicle to cricoid cartilage is level 4. Okay, clavicle to cricoid cartilage is level 4, hyoid to cricoid cartilage is level 3. So this is how we will have to see these arrangement. Okay, then the next question we will see. In the next question, all are the types of the muscles, all of the following muscles help in inversion of foot except. So inversion of foot and eversion of foot. So first we will see the muscles involved in inversion of foot and muscles involved in eversion of foot. Muscles involved in inversion of foot are tibialis anterior, tibialis posterior, extensor hallucis longus, and triceps surae. Tibialis anterior, tibialis posterior, extensor hallucis longus, and triceps surae are involved in inversion, whereas in eversion, extensor digitoris longus, peroneus longus, peroneus brevis and peroneus tertius are used in eversion. So in inversion, tibialis anterior, tibialis posterior, extensor hallucis longus and triceps surae are involved in inversion, and in eversion, extensor digitorum longus, peroneus longus, peroneus brevis and peroneus tertius are involved in eversion, right? So we will see the options. So tibialis anterior, tibialis posterior, extensor hallucis longus along with triceps surae, these are involved in inversion, whereas peroneus longus with peroneus brevis and tertius and extensor digitorum longus, all these four muscles are involved in inversion of foot, are involved in eversion of foot. Okay, so this is 9th question. Then we will see the 10th question. Which of the following is not associated with olfaction? Okay. See, olfaction is mainly associated by the first cranial nerve, that is the olfactory nerve. But there is one more thing which you have to remember, that for olfaction it's not just the first cranial nerve. Along with first cranial nerve or some other cranial nerves will also play a role in olfaction. Okay, so obviously those should be the sensory nerves, or mixed nerves can only play a role in olfaction, whereas this hypoglossal nerve which you are seeing here, this hypoglossal nerve is a motor nerve and it supplies to all the muscles of the tongue except palatoglossus. It supplies to all the muscles of the tongue except palatoglossus. So this 12th cranial nerve cannot play a role in olfaction, right? So olfaction is played, all the others, see, trigeminal nerve is a sensory nerve, whereas 10th is a mixed nerve and 11th is a ninth is glossopharyngeal nerve. It also has some supply to the olfactory neuron, right? So this is one thing which is important. Next, if you see the next question, okay, we will see some important points about the important cranial nerves, not the others. Okay, so in the important cranial nerves, because we are dealing with olfaction, we will see first olfactory nerve. This is the only cranial nerve which enters the cerebellum directly. We are seeing only the one-liners. Okay, it enters the cerebrum directly through the cribriform plate without synapsing with any of the thalamus or midbrain. It has no root over there, it directly enters the brain. Next, it is the only sensory afferent pathway which is not synapsing in thalamic nuclei. It is the only sensory afferent pathway which is not synapsing in thalamic nuclei. This is first nerve, which is olfactory nerve. Then we have the fourth nerve, which is important. Only some one-liners. Okay, fourth nerve is the trochlear nerve. Actually, this trochlear nerve is the smallest nerve. It is the most slender cranial nerve. Then this is the only nerve to emerge from dorsal surface of brainstem. It is the only nerve to emerge from dorsal surface of brainstem. This passes anteriorly around the brainstem and it has longest intracranial course, and it also decussates to the opposite side. It crosses the midline within the midbrain, emerges from its dorsal aspect as I have already said, and it decussates with the opposite side oculomotor nerve. It only supplies to superior oblique. Okay, so this is about trigeminal nerve, trochlear nerve, that is fourth cranial nerve. Now fifth cranial nerve, which is trigeminal nerve. So this trigeminal nerve is actually the largest cranial nerve, and the large sensory root is composed of central processes of, it has pseudo unipolar neurons. Its sensory root contains the nucleus of this contains the processes of this pseudo unipolar neurons, and all the nucleus of this pseudo unipolar neuron will makes a trigeminal ganglion, or also called as semilunar ganglion, and this trigeminal ganglion is present over the Meckel's cave lateral to the cavernous sinus. It is present in the Meckel's cave lateral to the cavernous sinus. Then some important points about sixth or obducent nerve. This obducent nerve is the longest nerve, this is not largest, longest nerve with intradural course. Longest intracranial course is trochlear nerve, whereas longest intradural course is abducent nerve. This abducent nerve lies deep to the facial colliculus. Actually, this facial colliculus is formed by this abducent nerve nuclei. Then if you see, this passes through a canal called as Dorello canal. Dorello canal. Abducent nerve passes through this Dorello canal. And it is the most common cranial nerve which is affected in spinal anesthesia. And this abducent nerve is the only cranial nerve which is passing through the center of the cavernous sinus, whereas the other cranial nerves like oculomotor nerve, maxillary and mandibular branches of trigeminal nerve will pass through the wall of the cavernous sinus. Then the last cranial nerve is seventh cranial nerve, which is facial nerve. This facial nerve has the longest intraosseous course. Facial nerve has longest intraosseous course and it is most commonly paralyzed. So if you see, the trochlear nerve has longest intracranial course. Longest intracranial course is present in trochlear nerve or fourth cranial nerve. Then abducent nerve has longest intradural course. Longest intradural course is present in abducent nerve. Then we have facial nerve or seventh cranial nerve, which has longest intraosseous course. Okay, so these are longest courses. Then the next question, the last question, all of the following bones are involved in formation of wrist joint except. So in the wrist joint, all the bones are involved except the ulnar bone. Surprisingly, ulnar bone is not involved in wrist joint. The bones which are involved in wrist joint are the radial bone, followed by, this is radius, followed by, and this is ulna. Actually ulna is a little above, so ulnar bone is not involved. This is radius bone, this is the scaphoid bone, then we have lunate bone, and then we have this pisiform bone. Scaphoid bone, lunate bone and pisiform bone are involved. Along with that, in between ulna and these carpal bones, there is a triangular fibrocartilage. So through this triangular fibrocartilage is involved in the wrist joint formation. Okay, these are the wrist joint. Ulna is not involved. Radius, scaphoid, lunate and pisiform are involved. Sorry, not pisiform, triquetral. I am really sorry. This is triquetral. Over the triquetral, here you will see the pisiform. But anyways, triquetral is mainly involved. So scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum and the radius are involved in the wrist joint formation. So these are the questions. Thank you for watching.